the dragon egg. One of the most legendary items in all of Minecraft. There can only be one per world, and if you lose it, it's gone forever. Even if you're playing on easy mode, your dragon egg is basically playing hardcore. It took me 8 years just to get one on my SUPERFLAT survival world, since getting to the end dimension used to be impossible. So naturally, I secured my dragon egg in the most epic spot ever. It's in some random spot in my base where it's been collecting dust for the past 4 years. I even get comments all the time asking me where the heck it is. So today, we're gonna build a massive mega base celebrating everything we've accomplished in this world over the past dozen years. It's gonna be the tallest tower we've ever built, and at the very top, we'll put our dragon egg so we can appreciate it from anywhere in the world. Okay, so I just spent months clearing out all this dirt to make way for the foundation of the tower. The plan is to have the building sit on top of a large harbor with stone piers extending out into a busy bay. So first we need to lay down those stone piers, which are gonna form the foundation of the whole mega build. Our palette for this calls for cobblestone, polished andesite, stone, acacia wood, gravel, light gray concrete, and a little bit of moss. So let's get collecting. No, wait a minute. Before I can even get started with this epic YouTuber collecting montage, I need a way to store all the materials. But all of my shulker boxes are currently full of dirt. So it's finally time to do something I've been avoiding forever. We're gonna make a shulker farm. But before we even step foot in the end, I really want to bring a few totems of undying. 1.21 broke my raid farm, so for now I gotta do it the old-fashioned way. But that's alright. I like beating these guys up. Okay, now that we have plenty of these, we should be good to start this farm. I picked this spot underneath Salacia Beach since it's pretty close to where we're gonna be building this mega project. I'm using a super simple design by ENXO4. It barely needs any resources. I already had all the obsidian I needed for my piglin bartering farm, and I can easily bulk trade for tons of glass over at my library. Once I had the overworld side of the farm finished, I linked up the portals to the nether portion of the farm, meaning all that was left to do was capture a shulker and transport it into place. I scanned my seed for end cities nearby end gateways, and then once I found a good one, I built a rail from the end city through the gateway, through the portal to the overworld, and then all the way from the world spawn to the site of the shulker farm. All right, everything should be all set to go in theory. I just know something's gonna go horribly wrong with this. Okay, he's going. So we're gonna put down this furnace minecart to push him along. Perfect. Okay, this is the part I'm nervous about. All right, it's still going. Oh. Okay, yeah, that's what I was worried about. All right, how do we fix this? Okay, I'm just gonna try the activator rail again, but with these glass blocks here. Okay. Please just go into the portal, little guy. Oh my god. I'm gonna kill him. So I learned the hard way that building over your exit portal is a bad idea. But it didn't take me long to take down the building, and then it was time for round 2. Okay, let's try this again. Off you go. Okay, I think it worked this time. Yes! Oh, let's go. Okay, now we just give him a little push. Okay, that wasn't too bad. All right, maybe it was kind of bad. But now this thing should be just about working. And working it was. With the shulker farm producing shells, I decided to build my first ever set of chunk loaders to keep the farm going even when I'm not nearby loading it. I realized I still needed to clear just a little bit more dirt for the project, which actually was perfect because it gave me the opportunity to give our shulker farm its first real test. And speaking of tests, here's a quick pop quiz to find out if you're a true Mogswamp fan. The question is, what is the name of the city in the center of my world? Is it A, Midfell, B, Swampton, C, Fenhaven, or D, Kuklios? Take a moment to think, and we'll hear your answer after this brief message from our sponsors.
Have you ever wanted to witness the thrilling peaks of Wuthering Heights, the dark depths of Salacia, or the bustling boulevards of Fenhaven? Well, now you can, all within the comfort of your own home. Introducing the very first in our vintage travel poster series, a limited edition illustration of the incredible city of Fenhaven. Every last building has been precisely rendered and reimagined with details never before seen, all while still being faithful to the creator's original design. How can I claim this with such great conviction? Well, that's because this poster was hand-drawn and painted by the famed creator and architect himself, Mogswamp. Printed in full color with a silky smooth coating, each print has been signed by the artist, truly making every poster a one-of-a-kind. But that's not all. 30 by 40 centimeter frames are available in both black and white. The finished product is in fact a mesmerizing work of art to behold, transforming any banal corner in your home into a cornucopia for the eyes. Now, these posters are in limited supply and high demand, so the savvy consumer should purchase with haste. Might I remind you that the holidays are just around the corner. So please, visit the link in the description or the pinned comment below and order now while supplies last.
We're back from the break, and we asked you earlier, what is the name of the city in the center of my world? C, Fenhaven. Are you sure? That's correct! You guys must be super fans. I have no idea how you got that. And for the grand prize, you win 1 free subscription to my channel. All you have to do is click the button below. Anyways, after 2 or 3 hours and 100,000 dirt, I was finally finished clearing out the area for my build, and it was time to check on the Shulker farm. All right, let's see what we got. Nice, that is what we wanted. Finally, I had plenty of shulkers to store all of my dirt, and more importantly, all of the resources for our mega build. Now we can get collecting, and the first resource we need is cobblestone. I used to mostly just use a cobblestone generator, but these days I have a much more fun way of collecting it. I'm slowly hollowing out Withering Heights, the giant lava cast mountain I made way back in 2013, 1 TNT blast at a time. Blasting out this mountain was the perfect way to blow off some steam after that stressful shulker farm setup. And honestly, it's the perfect way to satisfy that random urge every Minecrafter gets to dig a giant hole in the ground without having to leave my super flat world. I made sure to grab way more cobblestone than I needed since we also need a bunch of stone. Instead of wasting my time at my stone generator, I just threw some of the extra cobble into my super smelter and pretty soon I had plenty. The last of my excess cobble would go towards crafting andesite. In SUPERFLAT, I get andesite by combining cobblestone and quartz, and all of my quartz comes from piglin bartering. I need to do a lot of bartering because we need gravel too. But luckily, 1.21 means that instead of sending all the gold nuggets from our gold farm into the overworld for storage like I used to, now we can just use the crafter to automatically turn them into ingots. Basically, the drops from the piglins are shuffled down into an item filter, which burns the gold swords and rotten flesh, and then the crafted gold is dropped down into our piglin bartering system below. I tore down my old gold nugget storage system, and then I AFK'd at my piglin bartering farm while I chopped down all the acacia wood needed for the project. All right, I left this running for a while. Let's see what we got. Okay, yeah, this should be plenty. Since quartz is a lot more rare than all the other things you get from bartering, I had to run the farm for just a bit longer to get all the quartz for the andesite. Crafting all of this is actually really tedious. At some point, I'd love to make a redstone contraption that takes cobble and quartz and crafts it into diorite, andesite, or granite for you. But that's a project for another day. We need to focus on getting the last few resources. Gray dye is super easy to get from our flower farm, and I made sure to barter for enough gravel for our concrete. So the only thing left was to AFK at our sand duper. The last step was to convert the concrete powder. I should probably build a better concrete converter at some point too. But for now, we've only got one resource left to grab, and luckily for me, our moss factory was fully stocked. Okay, the materials are ready, the space is cleared. It's finally time to start building. The very first thing to do is outline the pier, which will eventually become a bustling harbor for cargo and passengers alike. Eventually, we're gonna fill all of the area around here with water to create a giant ocean like the one we used to have around our world, except much deeper. But we need to make sure to finish off the ocean floor before filling in any water, because without the ability to get sponge and SUPERFLAT, clearing out water can be extremely painful. So for now, we're gonna leave this as bedrock and use our imaginations. The design for the pier was directly inspired by this incredible illustration by Renzo Picasso. Born in Genova, Italy in 1880, Renzo Giovanni Battista Picasso had a deep appreciation for architecture and urban planning in his blood. Both his grandfather and father had contributed to the architecture and urban planning of Genova. His father co-authored designs for a famous street in the city, and his grandfather worked on the barracks for this famous lighthouse, which is the first thing that popped out to me when exploring the city on Google Earth. And this is where my American mind really starts to melt, because the lighthouse was originally built in the 1100s. After being damaged in 1528 under French military occupation, the tower became the tallest lighthouse in the world for 359 years. That's over 100 years longer than my country has existed. Even today, it's still the world's 5th tallest and 4th oldest lighthouse. History is so cool. Anyways, back to Picasso. Here's an excerpt from the online Renzo Picasso archive. While he had a great love of Genova, Picasso was truly a world citizen. Upon visiting New York City in 1911, he was deeply impressed by the urbanism and technical innovation of modern American architecture. He ended up deviating from the more conservative styles of his father and grandfather, and he produced a large number of visionary drawings and plans depicting the most striking aspects of what he saw in America. And it's this complex network of different transit systems interacting that really inspires me about his work. Like, he has all these illustrations of 3D subway interchanges, which isn't something I've thought much about because, like, you know, they're buried underground. Or he's got these technical drawings of stoplights in different cities, and I guess I never really considered that stoplights used to just be powered by a guy in a little booth. And although some of Picasso's Italian futurist sensibilities have aged poorly, like this idea for a 7-layer superhighway cutting right through Manhattan, other illustrations, like this proposed cross-section for a subway system in Genova, complete with underground cinema access, will be very influential on the way we put together this project. With the stone piers filled in, I was ready to start constructing the giant wall that is gonna form the entire base of our tower. A lot of Renzo Picasso's urban designs center around verticality, and this wall is basically a reinforced cliff face. Okay, so for the outlines of our giant wall, we're mostly gonna need oak, birch, and smooth sandstone. So let's grab some more shulkers real quick. I'm so happy we built that farm. Okay, we already have a ton of sandstone I AFK'd for earlier, so we can just smelt this up. Okay, and while this is cooking, let's go grab some wood from our tree farm storage. Luckily, I still have a bunch of wood left in here, I think. Man, for once we had everything we needed all ready to go. So the basic pattern is gonna go like this. And now we just need to copy this down all the way to the end. All right, the big reveal. Ah, it feels so good to finally be making progress. Oh, we have a visitor? What do you think, sir? Do you like it? Well, I'm not quite finished. You know, now that I think about it, this guy must have wandered all the way over here from one of these villages. I guess he just lives here now. Wait, where is he going? Oh my god, I'm so distracted. I copied the base of the wall to the other side and then began pillaring up, and as the full height of the wall revealed itself, I was beginning to understand just how massive this build actually is in my world. I started building up the 4 sandstone spires on the piers, but pretty soon I was already needing even more resources. Okay, so now we need to fill in between the pillars over there, and the first thing we need is some brown mushroom blocks. So we're just gonna do this the old-fashioned way and get chopping. Okay, so next up we need to get a bunch of packed mud, and I have so much extra because when I ran out of shulkers to store my dirt, I just started converting it to mud at my lumber mill. But we still need the wheat to convert it to packed mud, and this is kind of embarrassing, but I really don't have a good wheat farm. Like, I know this looks like a lot of wheat here, but I promise you this is not gonna be nearly enough. But now that I've shown this farm on camera, it would be criminal not to do this. So satisfying. The reason I hate running this farm is because it takes like 20 minutes to replant it. But yeah, just like I thought, that was not enough wheat. I flew over to the mob hotel to try and use an old nano farm I built, but I couldn't figure out if it still works or not, so I just built a brand new one really quick, and then I AFK'd until I had all the wheat I needed for the time being. But if we're gonna get through this whole project, I don't know if I'll be able to avoid building an automatic wheat farm much longer. Back at the build, I started placing in the mud paths that form the upper deck of the piers. This is an idea I ripped straight from that Torre della Pace drawing, probably butchered that, which reminds me, I haven't actually named this build yet, and I think I have the perfect idea. I want to call this whole area Vicenium Bay, and then our epic skyscraper is going to be referred to as the Vicenium Tower. My idea is to make the tower into sort of a museum for our world. It'll have 20 floors, and each floor will represent 1 year in the world, showcasing everything we built that year, what changed in SUPERFLAT worlds, and maybe even some personal life details, like the years I graduated high school and college. Since we've only been in this world for 12 years so far, filling in a new floor of the museum will become an annual tradition until we finally fill up the whole tower in 2032 when my world turns 20. That's what Vicenium means, by the way, 20 years. That's why I think this is the perfect name. Oh my god. Standing up here and looking down at this really shows just how enormous this thing actually is. But we actually need a bunch of exposed copper to fill in these gaps. Now normally I would have to go to my drown farm and AFK for hours and then wait even longer for the copper to oxidize. But now that trial chambers are in SUPERFLAT, I can just grab tons of already oxidized copper. Man, I love 1.21. All right, let's grab some copper. It's hard to explain just how much faster this is than using my old drown farm. What used to take hours now takes 30 minutes of mining. After quickly converting the copper into the right color and re-waxing it, it was all set to go. But I realized that right now, this base kind of looks like Swiss cheese. I'm using Ligmatica, which is a mod that puts a schematic into the world and helps you place blocks into the right spots, even in midair. But because I've been skipping all the details, everything looks like a bunch of hungry caterpillars came and ate away at it. So before filling in the walls, I'm gonna fill in all of the missing blocks, and we'll see this build really start to come to life. Using candles on top of iron bars works great as those sort of pilings or posts that boats tie off to. And I really like having these chains run along the sides. I feel like these make it much more of a pier and less of a stone platform. I also added railings to the upper deck of the pier for a bit of realism and detail, and I love the way it looks. After cleaning up a few other details, the overall look of the build was really starting to improve. Okay, now we gotta dress up these 4 spires a bit, because right now these are looking ugly. Finally, it was time. All my planning and resource gathering so far had led to this. As I finished up the towers, I was ready to fill in the walls and take another step towards completing our insane goal. The walls would have been super easy to build, except for the fact that I kept running out of terracotta. See, my main source of terracotta is Macy's, which is what I call the department store in my city where I keep one of each terracotta trade. But you can only trade for 24 blocks of terracotta per day, which makes getting terracotta in bulk using this method super frustrating. I had to keep flying to Macy's every morning to trade for terracotta and then fly all the way back just to build a little bit of the wall before night. After what felt like a million trips back and forth, I was finally laying down the last few layers of the walls. And in the end, it was all worth it. But I really need to figure out a good design for a clay farm because this just isn't sustainable. All right, next up on the list of stuff to do is the road system. Now, good old Renzo already came up with a super cool design for us. We're gonna have a big fancy avenue leading up to the tower with a crossroad passing underneath through a tunnel. The crossroad will have some sort of fancy trolley system, and we'll make sure to add some sidewalks and plenty of ways for pedestrians to get up and down. I had plenty of resources left over for the sidewalks, and I even laid down a bunch of floating dirt. That's because our palette for asphalt is gonna use gray concrete powder, and the palette for our grass is gonna use green concrete powder. Both blocks are affected by gravity, so we're planning ahead by putting a layer of dirt below to support it. Luckily, Lightmatica makes placing all of this so much easier. Man, between the sidewalks and the dirt, you can really get a sense of how things are gonna be laid out now. I'm thinking we're gonna have a bunch of palm trees down the center of this road here. Oh, another visitor. Hello there, little guy. Nice! We got him. Oh, there's another one. Sweet. 3 new skeleton horses. I bet I can hit the skeleton first try. Watch this. Oh no! I needed to switch things up, so I decided to go back to building up our pier. I began building up the pillars that will support the entire structure, adding in loads of detail. Up until now, I haven't really talked much about the design process for this build. When I planned this out in creative, I basically followed the same steps that we have in survival. I started by outlining the piers, then I figured out the walls, and I went back and added detail. But when it came time to start trying to figure out how the underside of the docks worked, I was really struggling. Since our reference image doesn't really show us what this might look like, I had to draw inspiration from elsewhere. I ended up being inspired by the groin vaults of Romanesque and Gothic architecture. Because really, this entire tower is gonna have a bit of a Gothic revival feel to it. But resolving the complex curving ceiling shapes was proving to be extremely difficult. So I hopped on a call with my friend Vahan from the Bakery, an elite team of builders that are constantly pushing the boundaries. Vahan is an expert when it comes to curves, churches, and everything Gothic. And honestly, she was saying some really wild stuff.
The diagonal stretching is super powerful on 45s. Well, Pythagorean theorem. Sometimes the stairs will add little bumps or divots into it. Signs on stairs is so good.
Pretty soon, I was back on track. I grabbed some water and snacks, pressed record, and built for 7 hours straight. It's funny how sometimes you have these crazy epiphanies at the weirdest moments. Like here I am, basically delirious after building non-stop for hours on end, and only then, after looking at the drawing again, do I suddenly notice that the whole time, staring me right in the face, is the Lighthouse of Geneva. All right, so if that's the lighthouse there, and this is the lighthouse over here, okay. So it seems like his tower would be somewhere along this shore here. Although I'm not sure how many of these piers were actually here back then. Okay, I actually went ahead and bought a historical map of Geneva. I'll put the link in the description. But so we can see that none of those piers were actually there at the time. So I think it's along here somewhere. I feel like this super straight street here is promising. This kind of looks fancy. It doesn't really have the cliff like the drawing. Yeah, this is pretty high up here. Wait, yeah, oh my God, this street is literally just a river. They straight up just covered this whole river with a road. Okay, so if this was a river back then it's gotta be one of these guys. I feel like this is where the cliff is the highest. So maybe we can just look for this building here. I'm assuming it's an actual building. Is that it? No. Wait, is that it? Wait, oh dude, that's it. That is definitely it. Wait, okay, so the lighthouse, the cliff, the little courtyard, the courtyard here. Dude, this is literally it. Man, okay, so he literally stood right here. Whoa. You think they're Mogswamp fans? Okay, so this is that same road via Corsica. Wait, oh my God, this is his father's road here. Wait, so if you follow this, dude, yeah. It literally intersects with the road his father designed. Oh my God. This is such a weird road. Dang, dude. This is beautiful. This was honestly such a surreal moment for me. I mean, 100 years ago, Renzo Picasso stood in this very spot, just a short walk away from his father's famous street, dreaming of a future for his home city. One that would seamlessly combine the verticality of New York's skyline with the coastal cliffs of Italy, all with a vast network of public transit to support it. And although reality never quite delivered on Picasso's beautiful vision, I can still build this dream in my world and share it with you all. And honestly, there might still be hope for the roundabout at Via Corsica. In 2018, a new statue was placed at the site. According to Geneva Today, the statue, a bronze monument created in 1896, remained for years in a warehouse, forgotten and at the mercy of thieves who made a mess of it. The statue was restored and placed at the center of the roundabout, and plans to repave the entire plaza, add new benches, and construct several new businesses seem to be underway. You can even see the construction fencing and cranes in the area on Google Street View. This rendering of the project from Geneva Today might not be as grand as Picasso's plans, but I think he'd be happy that his city is still investing in the area a century later. Maybe we can convince them to put a statue of Renzo Picasso in the plaza next. My next goal was to begin working on a restaurant to go right above the piers. But as I began working, something dawned on me. I've spent months at this point designing this project, grinding for resources, and building as much as I could. But I'm still so far from having a grand tower for my dragon egg. Reality is beginning to sink in. I'm not gonna finish this project. Not in this episode, at least. Maybe, just like Renzo Picasso, my dreams have been a little bigger than reality. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna give up. Lately, it feels like so many of my friends are doing movie-length Minecraft videos. And if I'm being honest, I've really been struggling to keep up. I want to make every second of these videos count, but I also want to keep making bigger and better projects. So maybe, just this once, it's okay to say the 3 words I've been avoiding saying in my videos for a long, long time. To be continued. But hey, I've got a really good reason for you to come back and watch the next episode. You see, the last time I did a full tour of my world was all the way back in August 2021. That was actually the video that sparked the start of my channel growth. And it was also the last time I've offered a free world download for people to explore. So when the next half of this project drops, I'll be including a free download of the world. For quite some time, the world downloads have been a major perk for my Patreon members. So since I'm giving the download away for free next episode, I've introduced some new perks for you guys to enjoy. If you're a fan of my Just Dirt series with Hobby, you can now unlock access to our private patron-only structuralist server and try the challenge out for yourself alongside me, Hobby, and other members of the community. The server has keep inventory, teleporting, and voice mod, which makes it such a tight-knit community. It reminds me so much of that cozy OG Minecraft vibe I used to get on servers way back in the day. We've even done events like SUPERFLAT trivia that have been so much fun. Oh yeah, let's all do Halo. And now, patrons can also become a mob in my Flatworld at the end of videos, just like all of these lovely supporters you've been seeing on your screen. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in part 2.